Hey, I'm Sheena Shuey. I'm a registered social worker and host of the 4Q podcast. I'm passionate about normalising, not pathologising life, and that's not easy. So each episode, I have amazing guests on to share the messy, beautiful ups and downs of life in 4 key questions with tips and tricks along the way. There are moments in life where you can embrace your story and understand that it's okay not to feel okay sometimes. So let's get into it. This is the 4Q podcast. Welcome to 2021. Oh, it feels like a bit of a relief to be here, doesn't it? And I know that's bad to say. We need to be grateful for all that is and all that was and all that ever is in this present moment, because that's all we ever have. But I think a lot of us can admit last year was big in many ways. I know I personally had to struggle with a couple of things. For those who have been following me for a little while, my husband works interstate. So having him locked out away from my son and I for large amounts of time was hugely difficult. So that's, and then not to mention, I worked 5 different jobs last year and it was a very big time. So very big time of shift and change and attunement and growth and all the things, right? So here we are. If you're anything like me, I know some people aren't like this, but I'm very big of like new year, new intentions, new purpose, new everything, and being very clear about my intentions because it seems very symbolic. And I'm big on rituals. I love a good ritual. Speaking of rituals, before we jump into our first episode of this year, I want to acknowledge the traditional owners of this unceded land on which we practice and teach, the Gubbi Gubbi people. So I pay respect to elders past, present, and emerging, and the Aboriginal elders of other communities, as well as all the teachers that have passed down this ancient wisdom to us. We are committed to stand in solidarity with the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in the fight for justice and real land rights. So we will always advocate for that cause. And if there's anyone out there who's listening who wants more advocates who are not from that community in that cause, please feel free to email me at any time because I will always be passionate about that cause. Now, let's jump in to 2021. What the hell are you going to do, mate? Let's reflect on how to set intentions and set purpose and live in alignment and do all those rituals that I've just spoken about. So we are reflecting on welcoming a new year and setting intentions, okay? So let's redefine this a little bit in terms of how do I actually figure this out? So one exercise that could be really helpful for you is actually mapping out. The first step is map out all your different roles. So step 1, when you get a piece of pen and paper, write down these 3 steps so you can do these after, is identify all your roles. Like figure out, am I a mother? Am I whatever you are in your workplace? Am I a sister? Am I an auntie? Am I a wife? Am I, a cook, a cleaner, all the roles that we take on as mothers as well. But really try to think about all the roles that you have in your life. Figure out, all the different parts of you that you bring into everyday life. And then once you've written out all of your roles, figure out all of your goals for each individual role. So you might have certain goals for the year, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months for your job. or you might have certain goals for your relationship or your parenting or your, you know, goals for your relationship with your parents. You know, if you're anything like me and many of the people that I work with and know, there is a little bit of sense of urgency balancing all the hats because our parents are getting older and that's hard to watch sometimes. I definitely know that. So figure out your roles, figure out your goals, and then getting to the redesign, the third R of our 4Q podcast, after reflect and redefine, the redesign is how can I make it happen? Like, how do I actually make this happen? So it's one thing to say, I want to spend more time with my mum because, you know, that relationship's important to me. And as a daughter, that's one of my goals. Or I want to learn how to cook from my mum. Like, set it out in concrete. Okay, the first Sunday of every month, I'm going to go around to mum's house and we're going to cook together. Or I'm going to spend, you know, once a fortnight, we're going to do date night if there's a goal for relationships. Or in terms of your parenting, again, once a fortnight, I'm going to have a one whole day without my phone, without interruptions with our kids, or with my son, or with my daughter, or, you know, we're going to have mummy and me time, you know, whatever that goal is. And how do you actually concretely make it happen? So check out some SMART goals. There's so many templates out there. We have a template in our Life Reset course, but use your own. Be very concrete with this so that it feels real and you actually have something sustainable to do it, like a way of doing it. Because it's one thing to say, I want to start running, but you have to figure out, how am I actually going to do that? Because, you know, um, and then finally, you know, with a realign, the fourth step is, how can I stay on track? What and what can come up for you? So let's say you're you want to invest in your relationship and you figured out, okay, I want to do date night once a fortnight or once a month. And, you know, I want to buy some more lingerie because lingerie makes me feel sexy. And when I feel sexy, I feel like I want to be more intimate and I want to create the intimacy. Okay, how do I keep on track? So go back to our last podcast, our last episode, because we talk about the one tool that's going to help you stay on track. Hint, hint, it's reflection, but reflection in a structured way. So again, just to reiterate the analogy that we used, if you have a, you know, a business and you don't check the profit and loss report, so you're not checking on the profits, or maybe you're not checking on how the staff are feeling on a regular basis. In 12 months' time, you could be bankrupt with really angry staff. So this is why it's important, if in that business, to check in on all the elements of that business. Okay, how's the profit and loss reports going? Okay, we did really well this month. Why did we do well this month? Let's replicate that. Okay, no, we didn't do well this month. Why didn't we do well? How can we replicate that? Staff morale's gone down the last 2 months. What could be an explanation for that? How can we address that? What can we do? So similar for mindset, relationships, and parenting. It is so important that you check in. What's going on for me? How is our relationship going? Because all of our perceptions are so different. And one person in the relationship could be thinking, yes, we're killing it, things are going well. The other person may feel, things are not going well. Our intimacy is not great, our communication is not great. So again, checking in on the different elements. And if you want a breakdown of the 4 mindset elements and the 4 relationship elements you need to be checking in, just go back to the last episode, which was episode 13. So again, same with your parenting. Focus on, you know, how can I stay on track with this and how can we support each other through this? Now, the second element too of all of this is, what is going to come up for me? So If you're again looking at investing in your relationship and you want to do the date nights and you want to increase the intimacy, okay, what's going to come up for me? Maybe there's been some intimacy issues because of a miscarriage or weight gain or a pregnancy or something. Acknowledging what could come up before it comes up and how are you going to move past that? That is a really crucial part of success, is knowing that, okay, there's going to be failures and there's going to be stuff ups sometimes, but I need to figure out a plan to move through that. I've gotten through things in the past. How can I get through them again? That's a great first way, because if you know, okay, what tools have I successfully used in the past to move past some not so good things? I'm going to use those tools again. Um, Same with parenting. Things that can come up is just life, just busyness. And so it's like, how am I going to make sure I make time for these things? Because just like with everything, exercise, relationships, mindset, parenting, if you don't make the time, something else will fill it. Like 100%. You have to put boundaries and structure around that time, because time and energy is our two of our most precious resources. And for people who follow me, I know I bang on about this a lot, but they are, because that is what makes a good life, is leading with love energy and positive energy, and that energy of the spark of your soul and who you are. That's precious. And if your spark is not there, it's your life will not be the same. And your time is so, I mean, that's the most valuable resource. I always get really sad when, I don't know if people have seen this, but you draw a line, let's say the average living rate of 1 to 80 or 1 to 90, and then you draw a line on top of that line of how long you're going to work for, and it's really depressing. So, because it takes up a huge chunk. And so you have to ask yourself, how can I create more time in my life for the things that matter? Okay. I'm very big on breaking the 9 to 5, 5 day work week mold. And I really encourage you to think about, how can I break that mold to live a better life, one that's less stressed, more time for my relationships, more time for me, more time for the things I love. I think that balance is very off in a Western society. So I do challenge it. There's so much research that indicates it is not helpful. And one of the political parties here in Australia is actually advocating for a 4 day, 6 hour work week, because we're just more efficient. I know, I know lots of people who in an 8 hour day, they get to work and they muck around and they have a coffee and they check their emails. But if they had to do the same amount of work in 5 hours, they for sure would get it done. I 100% know that. You've got to go with what works. So, another topic for another day. But let's summarize. Identify what your roles are in your life. Identify what your goals are for each of those roles in your life. Then identify, how can I make those goals happen? And finally, how can I stay on track and what's going to come up for me? And remembering that you've got to set boundaries and structure around your two precious commodities of time and energy, because that is what will spark your soul. Okay? I'm sure it will. Evidence suggests nothing other than that. So let me know if you want more of this. I'm so excited to see what the year brings us and brings to light. And I hope that you've had a wonderful regenerative holiday season. And I cannot wait to see what the community that we're building and growing and connecting together. I'm so excited to see what we do, because that's going to change the world. I feel it. All right. So, big dreams for me, of course, but let's do it together. All right. Happy New Year once again, and I will see you on the other side. Okay. Bye bye.